Hello everyone, welcome to Bargain Gaming, where we can play excellent games without busting our wallets. This is episode 8 of Mountain Blade Warband, and we're doing primarily economics on this. So in the last episode, we were at Kudan, and so right now we are at Corral. So this is the whole map of the game. So we started here in Shariz, and we hit all the villages here. And then we came here to Dirham, and we hit all the villages around here to get to buy the grains. That was our initial economic endeavor. And then from here, we brought the grains all the way down to Darcuba, all the way down to Barrier, and then to Shariz, and we sold them. And I think we did that 2 more times. The third time we sold them around here, but I did not record that. And so, and then finally we poked our nose into the Kudan, Corral, and Rivacheg area, because this is where the, the Tundra Bandits are, in this particular region between Kudan and Rivacheg, and then Corral also. So, and then the sea pirates are along here, the sea raiders. And right now, given our party, we are in a pretty comfortable area, in the sense that we have 26 people, of which 4, including ourselves, are companions or heroes considered in this game. And we have 12 Saranid horsemen, 1 manhunter, 7 Saranid veteran footmen, and 2 Vagar footmen. Can we? Oh, okay. They will become veterans. And so at our current rate, if we look at our reports, it lists that our budgetly report is on a weekly basis. It's now costing us 443, given the kind of the size of our army, which is 26, and the composition of the army. So right now, like Bahestor is being paid 5 dinars, Rolf is 10 dinars, Borcha is 1 dinar. This Saranid horsemen are the ones the most expensive. There are 29 dinars each, of which 3 are ready to be upgraded to Mamelukes. We are not going to do that. We have 1 manhunter, and then Saranid footmen, and they are being paid $9. So these can be promoted to Saranid horsemen. That's why our speed right now is a lot faster. We're about 6.2 speed in terms of speed, and then these 2 can be developed into Vagar Knights. So they are on par with Mamelukes. So what we need more, I'm reserving the next 9. I'm figuring on 9 more manhunters, so that we will be able to catch more wounded rather than killing them. Because the Saranid horsemen and the Vagar Knights, or even Vagar horsemen, they kill people, and so we don't have as many wounded, and so therefore we cannot sell them to ransom brokers. So right now we are in Corral, and given our money, we have about 4,977. So in this episode, what I want to cover is that Corral, I think, will be our first investment in terms of a business. Corral is good as an investment area for metalworking, or like a blacksmith shop. It will cost us 3,500 to set up the blacksmith shop, and then that's our number 1. And then Rivacheg will be ideal for a dice and work, but that will cost us 12,000. So this one, 3,500 for a blacksmith shop. Rivacheg will be 12,000 for a dice and whatever. Rivacheg is the best place, is the best business we can invest in, although the amount is pretty steep. The thing is that we can find like raw silk like this in Rivacheg. I mean, the area around Rivacheg produces raw silk all the time. That's why Rivacheg, even when we invest like 12,000 in it, has a potential return every week of between 1,000 and 1,200. And so that's why that's the best investment in the game is Rivacheg. Number two is, I would say, possibly Corral, because it produces its own metal or raw material. At least Bacek, this Bacek over here, Bacek, and Rebache are two towns tied into Corral, and they produce, sometimes they produce steel ingots. And the third area we want to have a business is in Nara. Nara would be a leather works. Okay, so that would be the third, because again Nara produces its own. I think Kadelke and Zagush do produce hides that that is used as a raw material for leatherworking. Now Corral, once we invested in Corral, in Sargoth we will also invest a blacksmith shop here, or an ironworks here, because we can feed it by getting materials from Corral. So Corral produces a ton. It usually produces more than what it needs in terms of iron ingots as raw materials for a blacksmith shop or an ironworks. So those are ideal areas, and the other one that's ideal would be Veluca. Veluca, we saw earlier in one of our episodes, is that we went there, and I think Veluca is very good for, I believe, oil, because the villages, it controls Emmer, Samish, Chaeza, and Fedner. So Veluca controls four villages, and these four villages produce. One of them produces grapes, I think, or Pagundur produces grapes, but all of them, like Pagundur is tied into this castle, but this castle doesn't have a merchant in it. So Pagundur still brings their stuff to Veluca, so does the Serindiar village. So Veluca is a very good town center to control, and so it has a lot of villages feeding it. So Veluca, I'm pretty sure, I believe it's oil. I think secondary would be wine. So these are the main areas we want to have, the initial businesses we want to have. In this area, in the Saranid area, some of the villages here sometimes do produce raw silk. And this area over the villages over here, especially in this area, produces dye. Dye that is used. So a dye works requires raw silk and dyes to produce the material. So dyes is cheap in this area. Sometimes it goes down to as low as like 50 or 60 dinars. Everywhere else, the cost for at any dye works usually is about 200 when they have to buy dye works dyes for themselves. So they need dyes which normally cost about $200, and then raw silk would cost between 800 to about 1,000. So that is very expensive. So, and then they produce royal something, which when they I think the typical cost for raw silk is about 600. So, and then they produce royal velvet, which can be sold for about 1,200. So, since if any other city we invest in, we invest any other city and produce a dye works in it, usually their income is between 500 to 600. Depends on how many dye works are available in the entire kingdom. The more dye works there are in the kingdom, then it depresses the price overall, which makes sense, right? The more people producing the same royal velvet will depress the price. So those are my initial thoughts on this. Now the other areas like Shariz, Dercuba, Barrier, I think Amerad or Barrier would be a good candidate for I would put it in Amerad, because It's more like more central to these things, so that if we find raw silk, we can bring it to Amerad, and then we invest the dye works in that town. Again, we are only limited to only one business per town, per merchant town. These are these big towns, Dirim, Oxhall, Veluca. These are considered merchant towns because they have merchants in them. Suno, Preven, Tyr, Sargoth. So Sargoth will be good as a ironworks because we can feed it from Corral. And Kudan, Rivacheg is a good dye works. So Wercheg normally would be good for wine, but we in my past history playing with, we found that it's usually about break even. So in the other areas, I'm not sure what I want to do here. Maybe in Dirim, it would be a good area to have a ale making factory, because ale uses grain as a raw material, and grain is very cheap in this area. So Dirim would be a good candidate. And then Ravedin, what we can do is feed Ravedin with grain, and we can make Ravedin produce bread. I don't know. Or Ravedin can produce ale, and Dirim can produce bread. I'm not sure yet. But right now, what I'm sure about is Corral for steel for ironworks. We Sargoth later on. Once we have enough money, we will have to feed it, because if not, it will just break even. It will not make enough money. But Corral produces enough steel ingots we can feed it. Kudan, I don't know what to invest in there. So basically, Corral, Rivacheg, Nara, and Veluca are clear candidates to have 4 businesses in it, and then the rest we will think about it, or 5 including Sargoth once we start feeding it. So that is the main contention. And the other thing is, what I want to do is Rivet in this Wercheg area, Odasan, Jasek sometimes have grapes that can feed Wercheg. Ruvar and Jasek, actually Jasek belongs to Albert Castle. Ruvar and Odasan belongs to Wercheg. Ruvar sometimes produces, I don't know what it produces. Odasan produces salted fish. So Wercheg usually have grapes or salted fish in its merchants. And so they're sourced from Odasan for the fish, and Jayek for grape. So I come here to buy the salted fish, which is actually worth a lot of money here in the central area. In Oxhall, Suno, Dirim, all the way down to Halmar. And then over here, they sometimes produce their own salted fish also. I think somewhere here, I'm not sure. So salted fish is not, it's just about mid-priced in this area. So I always have a problem setting up businesses in the Kurgit area. Only Nara I can feed it here. Halmar, I have businesses here. I've set up as a winery, as an oil processing. I never make money here. So I don't know. Charis can be potentially a good, potentially for winery here, but because sometimes, again, it has a lot of villages around it, right? On its own, it owns Qualyut, Rushdig, and Ain Aswadi, and then Hawaha, Mitnan, and Tilimsal. It owns 4: Qualyut, Rushdig, and 5: Qualyut, Rushdig, Debane, Tilimsal, and Ain Aswadi. So, and then you have Hawaha and Mitnan also. Since they can't sell to their castles, they also sell to Charis. So Charis is a good town to hold on to. Like Dirim would be a good town to hold on to because it's central. And Veluca would be a good town to hold on to. Again, it's a lot of... So in terms of gross pay, gross revenues. In terms of tariffs, this would be good town to hold on to. Cuba, not so much. Among the so the first thing what we have done is just trading commodities. So what we have done, commodities was primarily grain trading here, and then getting some salt fish from up here, and also getting some kind like the pots from in this pots, and I think what do you call this, the I forgot, dates from the Sultan Salad pots, clay pots, and dates from in this area are good sources, relatively reasonable sources for trade material, which can be sold for good prices up here north. Pots and dates. And then grain in this area and some bread. Durham has a lot of bread. They can be sold for good prices down in the south or up here in the north. Kudan, Rivacheg, and Wercheg. And also west of here too. And then over here, I'm not very sure what's good businesses in Yalen, Jakala. I know Veluca is good. So in terms of commodities, we've talked about commodities primarily. And then I don't like to trade in edible commodities like grapes and what do you call this? The things they crush into oil. What do you call that? Jeez. Or even food. What do you call it? Crush into oil. What do you call it? Olives. Okay. Because our troops like those. So if they are in our inventory, our troops eat them. So they go very fast. Unlike salted fish, they don't go very fast because they come in bulks of 50. Grain also comes in bulks of 50. Bread also comes in bulk of 50. So there's always enough to trade over. Grapes, no good. Wine will also be drank by our people, and ale will also be drank by our people. I haven't had very great successes in trading wine and ale. So the only one I have success in is trading in grains, bread, salted fish, and also salt. Wercheg and Odasan, they produce good salt. And down here somewhere also produces good salt also. These are not from the ocean, but I think maybe mined salt, maybe from land, mined salt, rock type salt. So salt is a good about $100 or about 115, and then they sell for about 250 to about 260 in the main central area, maybe even down here on the left. So those are good trading items. So that's one thing, is trading items. Then the second one, the main source of income, are businesses, and we talked about that, like the ironworks in Corral, maybe feeding an ironworks in Sargoth, a dye works in Rivacheg, and then an oil works, an oil pressing in Veluca, possibly a winery here, and then ale possibly in maybe in Durham or here in Ravaden, and then bread here because a lot of grain is available in the central part, so we can feed Durham and we can feed Ravaden with grain. And then Nara for a leatherworks. So that's the second source of income. Initially would be, we talk about materials that we can trade or commodities that we trade. Number two is businesses that we can invest in, and number three are the merchant towns or merchant towns that are worth owning because a lot of traffic goes through them, so they collect a lot of tariffs. And for the Rodox area, Veluca would be a good merchant town to own. Durham would be a good merchant town to own for the Swedian area. And for nothing on the Ravadin possibly for the Vagar area. I don't think so. Sargoth primarily for the Nord area. And then on the south, Shariz is the best business center because there's so many towns that supply stuff to Shariz. So they have a lot of tariffs. So every what do you call this? Every faction has one good town, merchant town to own. So that would be the third source of main constant income. So initially commodities that we talked about. Number two, businesses that we mentioned. And then finally, merchant towns. And finally, the fourth item, source of income, would be the ransom guys. And the ransom guys would be primarily here. There are, what do you call this, forest bandits in this area. And also in this area, there will be camps, that forest bandit camps, that will be appearing here. And then there are desert bandits camp that will be appearing in this area. The problem is that desert bandits are very fast, right? Because they're always on horses. So until we have the speed, there's no point going after them. But once we have our riders now, our soldiers are all cavalry, we can come down here. And Tulga in the Kurgit area, there's usually a bandit camp also here. They're called they're steppe bandits here. So again, there would be nice camping area. But again, they are mounted. So therefore, later part when we only have an all cavalry unit. Now, in terms of the Tundra Bandits, this area between Kudan and Rivacheg is a good area. With all this area here, they're good Tundra Bandits here. And then, of course, you have the Sea Raiders along the shore and a little bit inland towards Mazen, all the way to Wurcheg. So all of them, this area would be for Sea Raiders. So that means we cannot camp them long because then they will be gone, right? After hitting 2 or 3 bands here, then we can move down here, hit a couple of bands here, then we can move all the way up here, somewhere here for the mountain bandits, down here, mountain bandits, and then once we have an all cavalry, then somewhere here, southwest of Amarad for desert bandits, and then up here, south of Ikamur, around this area, are steppe bandits. So those 4 points are 4 sources of income will guarantee us enough money to support a good army and will help us in conquering this whole land. So since we're talking about Kurao, right, let's go into Kurao and let's take a walk around the streets. When we do that, we need to talk to the guild master, and in this case the guild master is here, right? So by talking to him, pressing triangle, we say, I wish to buy land in this town for a productive enterprise, and then click on this. Very good, sir, we in the guild know and trust you. So that means now we can check each item, like a mill and bakery. So we have to, the source, the raw material is grain, and it says that if we check on this, a couple of things you keep in mind: skilled labor. What sort of enterprise do you want? So like grain, it will cost us 1,500 as the initial investment. We will sell bread for 294, and so he expects the profit should be about 66. So no, that's not economical. So we go back and we wish to buy land in this town. Again, we'll go down to a brewery, and it says grain again is the main source. So that again, it's a little more the capital is a little more steep at 2,500, but we can expect a slightly better income. So no, that's not economical for now. I wish to buy land in this town for a productive enterprise. A tannery, no. That's a wine, no. An ironworks, a tool from iron. Let's say this, yes. So it'll cost us 3,500. It says right now your ironworks will produce tools worth 676, while the iron needed to manufacture will cost 286. So we can expect a profit of about 330. So if we can source iron ingots for less than 286, we should make more than 330. So yes, we have the money. I think we have slightly over 4,000. Yes, here is money for the land. Okay, and then it says it will take about a week before it will be productive. So how is the trade around here? So we can only invest in one. So we can leave right now. And hold on. Let us save the game. So if in case we don't want to do this and we want to, okay, 31 days. Let's say put it in a new one. And find out we don't have the money for this. We can always go back to an earlier save so that and cancel what we just did. So it quit because we go to the marketplace and we go to the goods section. It shows us that they are selling ingots at 158. See, that means we can buy ingots for less money than what he claimed, about 268, right? Was the base price. So we can buy this, but it gets more expensive. So let's just buy 2, right? But the thing is, we can sell this to them. Okay, so we will pay 190 dinars. We need to carry this because our ironworks is not yet ready for us. Right now we have 1,400. It will cost us 190 more. I think we can afford to buy another one. Okay, and we will receive 8 dinars. Okay, so we have 1,400. So that means we have enough money to last us 3 weeks. Okay, let's quit. And now we can go visit our ironworks, but it's not available because it takes a while for it to be available. See, when we talk to him, we hope to begin production in about 7 days. So we cannot put our inventory with him. We will have to carry it for now. So when we leave, okay, when we leave, we can check our inventory. So we have 3 ingots that we are carrying with us, and we need 7 days before we can come back. Or I think in 3 days we can come back and store these 3 ingots with him. So right now we have 1,400, and then we can go look at reports and we look at our weekly budget. It costs us about $400. So estimate. So we have about 3 weeks worth of money. We have 3 weeks worth of money to support our activities. We have the food, right? We have enough food to last us a few days, a few weeks. And so right now we can actually go to the Dirham area and start going through the grains again and do some business, waiting for our Corral workshop to start business, right? So we can do that. Okay, anyway, our timer went off, so I hope this episode was helpful. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you'll join me in the next episode. Bye.